Good evening, everyone. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
So, good evening, everyone. So, we'll start. Our session is already 1 minute late. So, we have 70 participants as of now, and we are going live also in Facebook. So, today I'll welcome today's speaker, Dr. Apar Sahuji, and one of the great person in BNYS as of I know, and I'll introduce sir. He's completed BNYS from SDM and PhD in 2018 from S. Vyasa University, and he is currently working as a deputy director of the School of Yoga and Naturopathic Medicine and associate professor at the School of Yoga and Naturopathic Medicine, S. Vyasa University, and having 11 publications in impactful journals. So I welcome you on behalf of as a student also and on behalf of our community from BMIS on this virtual naturopathy talk part 1, and we'll have different questions from these students which was planned before itself, and I'll request from Ritu Shevani who will be the first student who will start. So good evening everyone and welcome you sir to all to this
Thank you
platform.
so much, Bhavik, for inviting me. And it's so nice that there is some platform where students from across colleges are coming together and having interactive meetings with a lot of BNYS doctors. And it's very nice to know that there is an initiative like this, which even I wanted to have ever since I was a student. So good work, everyone, and you can shoot.
Thank you sir. So we'll start with the Ritu Shevani. So,
Yeah, I would request whoever is talking to just introduce yourself, which college you are from, where are you from, and then you can ask anything.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Myself, Ritu Shivani, from Moraji Desai Institute of Naturopathy and Yogic Sciences, Vadodara, Gujarat. I'm a BNYS fourth year student. I wanted to ask that what could be some good authentic book references for naturopathy so that we can understand naturopathy better? And also one more question that how can we write and give proper naturopathic management to the patients?
Okay, I think I will start answering your first question first. The textbooks of naturopathy essentially are of two kinds now. The old philosophy textbooks that all of us have, which is from uh, right from Lindler to Shelton to Tilden, McFadden, Kellogg. So all of them have really found the base of the practice of naturopathy. And therefore, as a naturopathy student, I would always recommend you to read these books, and you should be reading them beyond your syllabus. A lot of times we read Henry Lindlar just for the sake of catechism, which is there in uh, Henry Lindlar. But there are so many concepts which are very, very important and relevant even today. Having said that, there is another small problem with these books. They were written in early 1900, and science has evolved from that time to today in a very, very fast manner. So what happens is what is being spoken in these books sometimes appear not relevant to today's world. But what I understand is we will have to start relating what has been spoken in naturopathy philosophy with the modern scientific understanding, for which we will require a very good base of the basic medical sciences. And the basic medical sciences should not again be limited to just passing anatomy, physiology, or any other exam. but rather they should complement the concepts that are being spoken in our philosophy. I still remember that I was reading Henry Lindlar as a student in 2003-4, and there was a concept of microzyma in Henry Lindlar, which at that point I kind of did not understand at all. But today, I understand that this is a very similar concept to what is called as the gut microbiota, which is the normal bacterial flora inside the body. And there is a lot of work that is happening across the world in terms of uh, the impact that gut microbiome can have. They secrete a lot of hormones. They ensure that, you know, you remain healthy. Now, unless you know that this is being spoken in your philosophy, you will not be able to relate it to a modern scientific concept. And therefore, when you talk of what books to refer, you should be referring both the traditional books as well as the latest available literature that is probably not translated into books, but rather in most of the colleges now we have research methodology as one of the subjects, and therefore we should be reading from internet. There is a lot of information that is available for all our subjects, and therefore we should not be limiting ourselves to any specific book. Rather, we should be learning all around. Do I answer your question, Shivani?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And about the naturopathic management.
Well, naturopathic management has to be depending on a lot of factors. Once again, what is the patient's condition? You will have to look at what is the available possible treatment modalities that are available with you. So all of that needs to be worked out. But what a lot of times what we do is we get too busy prescribing hydrotherapy or massages or mud therapy and all of that, and forget the very basis of naturopathy. The basis of naturopathy is living close to nature. Okay, and therefore, unless there is a lifestyle modification in terms of the diet, in terms of the exercise, in terms of regular yoga practice and stress management, leaving bad habits, sleeping early, waking up early. So these are the things that you must emphasize as a part of your prescription. Okay, and once again, there is a lot of research that demonstrates if you're not sleeping on time, there is a higher risk of developing heart attacks and diabetes and metabolic syndromes. And therefore, on one side, yes, there has to be a prescription of hydrotherapy, mud therapy, massage therapy, manipulative therapies, etc. But on the other side of it, you cannot compromise with lifestyle as a prescription. And therefore, there has to be a fine balance based on what is available to you, what is easily accessible to you, and that would make a perfect blend of naturopathy prescription.
Hello, sir. Good evening, sir. This is
Good
Garima
evening.
Garg from Subharti University. I'm BNY's third year student.
Hello,
Sir, I
Garima.
wanted to ask, like, we as a student, like, how as a student we can step into the research. So, what approach we can take for any kind of research activity or something?
Okay. As a student, you should participate in research in multiple ways. I mean, there are colleges where you already have an opportunity to take part in research as part of your dissertation work, whether it is your final year project or an internship project or something like that. But sometimes that may not be really possible. The feasibility of doing the projects in itself may be difficult, given that the situations could be kind of different. But at least we should be able to read from the very beginning of our college days authentic literature that is available, I don't know if you guys are aware about the Japanese scientist who was awarded Nobel Prize for Medicine 3 years back in 2016. The work that he got his PhD, Nobel Prize for, was on fasting. Now, how many of our students are actually reading about these things that is happening around? And then we say, we really do not have much material to refer to. There is another study that came in 2017 in a very big journal called as Lancet, which said diabetes can be reversed. Now, all along we have heard that once you are a diabetic, forever you will remain diabetic. But then this particular study could demonstrate that at least 50% of the people who participated in the study could reverse diabetes, which means they were off medicines for 6 months with normal HbA1c levels. And the intervention there was not a new drug or a wonder drug or anything like that. All they did was lifestyle. They restricted calories, which you do as naturopathy doctors. They ask people to exercise, which you do as a lifestyle prescription, and they ask people to be stress-free. Again, as a yoga physician, you do the same thing. Unfortunately, many of us do not really read all this. Okay, how many of our students are reading the work of Dean Ornish, which happened in 1980s? 1980s, he was the first person to talk about reversal of heart diseases with lifestyle prescription. And now we need to understand that this has to be translated in the practice that all of us do every single day. So unless that happens, there is a problem. And therefore, coming back to your question, there is a lot that is happening across the world at any given point of time. And it's very easily accessible. Okay. I still remember in 2003-4 when I was a student in my college, to access internet, I had to walk 2 kilometers. Okay, which is not the same with all of you now. You have internet access in your pockets. So just the way you access Facebook to check notifications every day, checking Instagram every day, you all should have a PubMed. You must check. PubMed is kind of an indexing agency which indexes research that happens across the world. And every day just search yoga, naturopathy, and see if there is a new information that is popping out. At least read the names when you start with. Okay. If you have really chance to do something, you must get involved with projects, at least participate as subjects, because you are adding knowledge to the existing knowledge base. A lot of times, some of us will be conducting a project and we send a survey to you, and you kind of decide that it is not important to you because there are no internal marks getting awarded because you participate in that survey. But then your responses are also adding knowledge to the existing database of the kind of knowledge that we have for yoga and naturopathy. So you can participate as a student by learning about what is happening around you. You can participate by taking part in the studies that are happening around you to ensure that your responses are recorded. Third, if there is a possibility, get involved with real projects. Do it yourself and see. You need not do big things, but start experimenting everything. Do not believe what teachers tell you. Okay, you will have to test those things before you ultimately go ahead and show it to the world. So that is what I would suggest you.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You're welcome, Garima.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Hi, Bhakti.
Yes, sir. Sir, for introduction, I am third year BNY student and I'm from Eswasa University. So my question to you is, sir, how can we as a student can contribute to betterment of our field?
I did not get your question, Bhakti, correctly. Could you please?
Yes, I will
Yeah.
repeat. So my question is, how can we as a student can contribute to betterment of our field, or how to study effectively to approach that?
Okay. I think I have answered those two questions in earlier couple of questions as well, but the answer will be coinciding once again. Study your basics very, very well. Okay. Do not study just to pass exams. A lot of times as students, we tend to do that. You know, we want to study just because we want to pass an exam and not for learning. If you have seen Three Idiots, I always remember that dialogue which comes in. Ki, learn for excellence. And if you learn for excellence, success will come to you automatically. And therefore, please study your basics. Be thorough with your philosophy. Question everything that is being taught to you. Don't just accept everything that is being told to you just because your teachers are telling you that. Okay. And I'm making my job difficult when I'm talking all this because probably you would be asking me questions in my next class tomorrow. But then this is how you need to go about learning. Okay. So it is very, very important that you are not restricting yourself to your textbooks. Learn beyond them. I would, interact with people as much as you can. I see this as a beautiful forum where there is a chance of interaction. A lot of times in many BNYS colleges, we tend to kind of underestimate ourselves and say, ye acha nahi hai, wo acha nahi hai, something is bad and this and that, everything. But rather, start talking about good things that you're doing, and exchange those ideas. Now we will have to understand that your teachers are older than you. They are probably not as well versed with technology as you guys are. So use technology. So there are a lot of things that you can do to make yourself better, but the basic remains the same. Study your basic medical sciences to understand the application of it in yoga and naturopathy, number one. Number two, do not lose your basic fundamental principles that govern yoga and naturopathy. And therefore, you need to learn both ends, best of the philosophy part, best of the science part, and apply your mind to connect those two. Once you start doing that, then things become easier. Okay. Also participate in research in whatever way you could do that. I was just answering that to Garima. So those are a few things that you can start doing.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Myself, Vijay Kumar Mishra, sir. From Subhati University, I am a BNY assistant of second year.
Hi,
So I
Brijesh.
want to ask to you two questions. First, about the naturopathy limitations about regarding the there are so many diseases that we can cause we can cure or we can't. I want to ask about the limitations of the naturopathy regarding the treating the medicine. And the second thing is, sir, I want to ask about the legalization to the naturopathy regarding the hospital after we done BNYS, then how can we uh, uh, I mean regulate the all the facilities to the hospital and the naturopathy medicine.
Okay. I think I would be more comfortable answering the first question. Second question, there are a lot of factors to it. So I'll take that question as well. The first question that you have was about, I'm sorry, I just missed answering you. Brijesh, can you please repeat? Brijesh, are you there?
So He is not there, so
Yeah.
Janvi will continue. So,
Yeah,
so
please.
he will
No
come
problem.
later.
No problem.
Namaste, sir.
Namaste,
Sir,
Janvi.
am I audible to you, sir?
Very much, very much. Please tell me.
Sir, I am Janvi Mishra and I'm studying BNYS from Banaras Hindu University and I'm in fourth year now. And my
Okay.
question is to you, sir, that in today's time, those who are below poverty line, those who are below poverty line, we can't recommend that diet which we generally recommend in our naturopathy center. So, can you tell me the substitute diet for them?
Okay, that's a very, very nice question. A lot of times we end up, making naturopathy a rich man's subject because what you do is essentially uh, a lot of cost is involved, your hospital infrastructure is there, and all of that. Your question rather is more specific towards diet, but I would uh, take you back a little bit and tell you why Mahatma Gandhi thought that naturopathy can be the best possible medicine for a country like India. Okay, when Mahatma Gandhi started talking of naturopathy, he did not visualize naturopathy the way it is seen today. Okay, and remember, Gandhi knew the ground realities of India. And if he could recommend naturopathy for the whole of India, then even now that is very much possible because the realities do not change. Now, why is it that it is costly? That is because many a times naturopathy is used as a management science. You are using it for managing certain diseases rather than preventing them. Okay,
Yes.
where do naturopathy have its strength? The strength of naturopathy is its lifestyle. If you don't fall sick, अगर आप बीमार ही नहीं पड़ेंगे तो खर्चा क्यों करना है? And that is very easy to do. Things that you can do at home are very, very simple to do. And therefore, do not think that naturopathy is only for rich people. Okay. Now, the problem there is that it is going to be why is it that naturopathy is costly? That is because the infrastructure that is required for establishing a naturopathy center is much bigger than an allopath or an Ayurvedic doctor. You can simply sit in a clinic with a couple of chairs and a table and you can still manage in say an allopathic setting because you are simply prescribing something. Okay, in naturopathy, if you think that you are going to prescribe hydrotherapy or mud therapy or massage therapy and all of that, there is a requirement of a lot of infrastructure and therefore you think it is costly. But if your food, which is eaten every single day, that is modified in a manner that you can actually get everything, all the nutrients that are required. Now, probably you would say dry fruits khane hain, okay, to get a lot of omega-3, omega-6 fatty acids and all of that. Why don't you recommend, instead of almonds and cashews, why don't you recommend peanuts, which is much cheaper? Okay, and therefore again, if we go with the way naturopathy recommends the diet, the dietetic recommendation of naturopathy is something that is seasonal and regional.
Fine.
तो अगर आप seasonal खा रहे हैं, अगर आप regional खा रहे हैं, automatically the cost is not going to be high. Okay, and therefore you will have to educate your patients. And in Western naturopathy, the 6 fundamental principles that they teach, one of them is doctor as a teacher. So your role has to be teaching or counseling the patient about the lifestyle modifications that are really required. A lot of times people do not factor in the money that they spend for medicines. Somebody who is hypertensive or diabetic ends up spending thousands of rupees on their medicines, but they are not ready to invest that amount of money on food. which is actually preventing all of that. So you will have to change the concepts of people rather than just looking at instead of this, start eating this or something like that.
Fine, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah. Is Brajesh back? Bhavit?
Yes, sir.
So shall we take his question before we go further?
Okay, so if he is ready, like is there in the chat box.
Yeah. Or he can just post the question on the chat box if there is a network
Yes, sir.
issue.
So yeah, sir.
Yeah,
So
I'll
we'll
take the
continue
next
with
question till then, probably.
Padma Shri, sir.
Yeah.
Padma Shri.
Good evening,
Hello,
sir.
Padma
I
Shri.
am from Government Nature Cure and Yoga Medical College, Mysuru. I'm studying in second year. So my question to you is that as a budding naturopath, what are the qualities should we build up so that it will be easier for us to face the problems that might. And secondly, apart from diseases like obesity, diabetes, hypertension, which are the diseases that can be best treated by naturopathy, but people are not aware of it?
Okay.
And which are lacking of diseases? Research.
Yeah, I think we will take your questions one after another, Padma Shri. What are the qualities that you need to develop as a budding naturopath? Number one, if I have to categorize those qualities, I would say you need to have knowledge, you need to have skills, and knowledge front, you can have the books, the philosophy part, the knowledge part comes from what you learn in the colleges. But what a lot of times we lack is the skills, and skills in terms of communication. A lot of times we study so much, but we are not able to communicate well with our patients, and therefore communication skills, counseling skills is going to be very, very important. And therefore, please talk to as many patients as you can. If you don't have too many patients coming to your institutional hospital, start talking to your relatives. Many of them will be having the health issues that we commonly deal with. Start talking to them, counseling them. And therefore, one of the most important skills that all of us need to develop is communication. The second aspect is, of course, the clinical skills. We need to learn how to diagnose and treat people. Okay. And that is again somewhere where we are kind of one step slightly behind to our allopathic counterparts. We start feeling a little low because we do not have that amount of training, but nothing like that. The start seeing patients, as many patients as you can see during your college time. Do not restrict you. Do not wait for a teacher to tell you that you need to take a case. Start going to hospitals as much as you can. Probably go to a clinician and sit with them. Just see how they deal with people. Take a stethoscope and utilize it on everybody who's at home right now. How many of us are doing that? How many of us are actually refining our clinical skills? Those are very, very important points. The third aspect, of course, is the research part of it. Um, Only in India, we see that there is a classification of people in academics, people in clinical field, and people in research. In fact, in the Western world, there is no classification like that. Every clinician is a part of a research team, and therefore learn what is happening today in your field, and therefore use technology. There is a lot that we can learn by doing so, and therefore have knowledge, have skills of communication, have clinical skills, and learn to do research. I think at least these are the beginning steps. Of course, sky is the limit once you start, so there is no end to it. Second question, I think Padma Shri, and I will also mix question asked by Brijesh to it. What are the problems that we can treat well, or what are the limitations of naturopathy in terms of treating certain diseases? I'm clubbing those two questions together because the answer is very similar for both of them. Like any other system of medicine, naturopathy also has its own limitations. And when I was in college, sometimes I used to have that inferiority that, you know, I'm not able to treat, say, somebody with fever, somebody with cough and cold, or something like that. But as I grew and learned and, you know, practiced, a couple of facts that came in my reading and which made me much more confident as a practitioner was that the lifestyle is the major culprit today. Okay, and, you would see me repeating this particular statement over and over. I would be using that word lifestyle because uh, if you take the causes of death across the world, 63% of the deaths across the world happen because of poor lifestyle. And when I say lifestyle, there are 4 factors to it: wrong food habits, lack of physical activity, uh, bad habits like alcoholism or smoking and other things, and psychological stress. So I'm going to deal with 63% of the deaths across the world, and that's my strength. Do you see a diabetologist actually going and doing cardiothoracic surgeries? They don't, because they specialize in what they do. Why are we trying to treat everything? Why are we not focused on what we can treat well and specialize in that? Do extremely well with only that. And if we are able to do that, I think there is no problem. Okay, so we are having a strength of being a preventive system, health promoting system, which I think the allopathic counterparts are not having. Although they talk of public health, largely all the concepts that are being spoken in public health are what we do in practice, number one. Number two, the limitations. Now, the limitation of naturopathy would be the emergency medical care. And I think we should not be attempting also to step in the emergency care for now. Okay, because at the end of the day, what is important is the patient has to live, and the patient has to get healthy. And therefore, what we're talking today in the world is what is called as integrative medicine. What is integrative medicine? You do what is best for the patient and not care what system of medicine are you applying there. Okay. And therefore, emergency care, you are not the best people to deal. Let us just accept that and leave it for the emergency care physicians. But work on your strengths, and those strengths are lifestyle disorders, whether it is, the chronic degenerative disorders, uh, like you have high blood pressure or cardiovascular diseases. You have metabolic syndromes like diabetes and thyroid issues and PCOD. And then there are musculoskeletal issues like arthritis and back pain and all of that. You've got autoimmune conditions where you can give fantastic results, where there could be rheumatoid arthritis to gout to psoriasis, a lot of those conditions. Um, so there is no limit to what you can do. Additionally, what our counterparts in Tamil Nadu has demonstrated to us during this COVID-19 situation is that we can also complement a lot of other allopathic interventions. Okay. In COVID-19 wards, there are BNYS doctors going and doing yoga practices for them. They are also giving naturopathy herbal prescriptions for them. And therefore, there is no limit to what you can do as long as there is service attitude. Okay. Ultimately, even if there is somebody on deathbed, you can still go and touch that person with love and give a couple of words of uh, empathy. That itself is therapy. And that itself is yoga and naturopathy. And therefore, don't think that you have limitation of XYZ diseases I can treat and ABC diseases I can treat. There is nothing like that. You have a role to play in healthcare, in taking care of the patients. And that role is based on what is the need. And that is where we need to fit in ourselves and decide what is the best for the patient and do it. I think I would answer that question in that way.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Padma Shri.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening,
Myself,
Shalini.
Shalini PY, fourth year BNYS from Government Nature Cure and Yoga Medical College, Mysuru. As we know that India is covered by 66% of rural area, many of them are not aware of non-communicable diseases like cardiovascular diseases, stroke, diabetes mellitus, etc. I want to ask you, sir, that how to reach them and how to approach them in holistic way to prevent these kind of diseases.
Shalini, I think I would like to correct you in saying that people from rural areas do not have lifestyle diseases like diabetes and hypertension, because the data from recent years demonstrate that they have equal number or probably higher number of people having hypertension and diabetes today. And earlier it was not so, because people were into hard work, they were doing the physical activities, lot of that. But now what has happened is there is a lot of automation that has happened with even the rural settings. Okay, tractors have replaced human beings, and of course that has its own advantage, and I'm not against that. But what I'm saying is the physical activity component of it is kind of gone. And therefore, diabetes, hypertension are common names even in rural areas. And therefore, one of the things that all of us need to do is have a lot of awareness programs. Dr. Venkatramana Hegde from Shirsi, who hails from a rural area, has shown us how we can do that. You know, he has gone across Shirsi, and he is now very, very famous about the camps that he could conduct in the rural areas. So there are practitioners who are BNYS doctors practicing in rural areas successfully. So the whole idea of naturopathy getting limited to urban areas and for rich people is something that we need to look for an alternative. Only thing is the modalities might be slightly different. You will have to do a little bit more effort. A lot of times what we do is we give up very quickly. Okay, we go a couple of times and then say nobody is listening to us. But then you will have to keep attempting that, and once you establish yourself, there is no going back there. I would like to give a couple of anecdotes to this particular scenario. I don't know how many of you have seen the movie called Patch Adams. Have you seen it, Shalini?
No, sir.
Oh, all doctors must see that movie. Yeah, so if somebody has asked me how to be a good doctor, please watch this particular movie. And I have a list of movies that all BNYS doctors, or for that matter, all medicos must watch. Okay, Patch Adams is an American doctor who becomes a doctor because he thinks he can help people. Okay, and then he starts doing social service, and during the process, he actually loses his girlfriend. One of the schizophrenics, a mentally unstable patient, actually kills his girlfriend, who is also a medical doctor. So now there are two ways you can look at the situation. You can either give up on what you are doing or continue to work further. And that is where, you know, Patch Adams shows us the path. Okay. The second anecdote that I would like to give you was from a management situation. A lot of times, you know, how you look at a situation. Okay. this is an imaginary situation. There are a lot of islands that keep getting discovered. No, a ship goes and there was a new island that was discovered, and of course there were some tribal people living in that particular area. So now, as a new island is discovered, everybody is excited. So companies send their representatives to this particular area to see how some business can be done in that island. So now, the tribal people, they were not wearing any footwears. Okay, and two companies which make footwear kind of sent their representatives to this area. So one fellow saw that nobody is wearing a footwear and concluded that, there is no market here. Nobody is wearing a footwear. Yeah. And the second fellow from another company, he says, wow, this is 100% market. Nobody is wearing a footwear. All I need to do is tell them that they require to wear footwear to keep their feet healthy. Okay. And the person who does that for the first time becomes the market leader. Okay. So if you say that 60% of Indian population lives in rural areas and they are not aware, and no naturopathy doctor dares to go in and do something for them, if you have the guts and you have the patience to stick on, you would become the market leader. Okay. And therefore, you will have to start looking at these different models. I think third example, not from naturopathy background, somebody who I admire as my role model in my life, Dr. Abhay Bang. He is a social worker, a Gandhian, and MBBS senior to my father by about 10 years. So he completed his MBBS, and then he was a very, very bright person. So he got in John Hopkins Medical School. He did his MPH, Masters in Public Health. I'm talking of 1970s, 80s. And once you are an MPH from John Hopkins, you could work anywhere in the world. Okay. He chose to come back to India, go to a place. There is a place in Maharashtra called as Gadchiroli, okay, which is still a Naxalite infiltrated area. Even today, the basic facilities are also very, very minimal. Okay, and I'm talking of 1980s when he, MBBS MPH, his wife MBBS MD, obstetrics and gynecology, they both went there and kind of settled in a place where there was no electricity, no telephone lines, no roads, no houses, nothing. Okay. And he started working for people over there. Now, the kind of work that Abhay Bang has done is unbelievable. Okay. But it all started with one baby dying on his bed. He had a small clinic hut kind of a place where he used to live. And one evening, somebody knocks on his door. A lady was there, and there was a baby in her hand. She kept the baby on his bed, and he examined. The great doctor that Abhay Bang is, he immediately recognized that it is a very, very high-grade pneumonia that the child has, and the child will not survive. And then he asked the mother, why did you not bring the child earlier to me? And the baby died eventually, but then the mother started telling that, there was floods when she started from another village to come to his place. There were floods. There were no roads. She had to cross a river. And when she wanted to come to a doctor, there were people in the village who were like, no, we will take him to some local person. He will do some jadoo tona and treat that person. So now Abhay Bang could have got disappointed, saying that, what kind of a big doctor I am not able to save a child. But he said, if there is a problem, there are solutions. And he made a list of 18 different problems for the tribal malnutrition. and the debts associated with it. And mind you, the ASHA workers, the village health workers, the models were created by Abhay Bang and his wife. Lancet is a big journal that publishes a lot of medical findings. Lancet dedicated an entire issue on the work of Dr. Abhay Bang and Dr. Rani Bang. So you will have to decide whether you are talking of a problem or you are talking of a solution. Where do you want to stand? Okay. And therefore, it is not easy. It is definitely not easy when you want to be part of a solution. But then you're required to have that courage and determination to work around and continue to strive unless you get the solution for the problems that you are trying to solve. I hope I have answered your question.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good evening, sir. I'm Azuma from a third BNY student from JSS INYS Coimbatore. I guess you can hear me.
Yes, Azuma, please go ahead.
So you actually kind of summed up on my query actually already.
Mhm.
So I'd like to add two more requests from you. The first is I want you to suggest some perspectives that as students we need to look at BNY's coursework because it is diverse as well as deep, because we have basic medical sciences, preclinical, postclinical, and all those treatment modalities and philosophies. So tell us the perspectives we need to change, something like a paradigm shift that we need to change. And the second one is I would really love if you could share the list of movies you had regarding the must watch for medicos, because I am literally so much into inspiring movies. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, the paradigm shift has to be coming from us as the stakeholders. You can't wait for somebody else to shift the paradigm for you. Okay. And therefore, I'm really happy that there is a forum getting created where there are students, there are teachers, there are practitioners who are coming together to talk about things. Okay. What we are not taught a lot of times is the application. Okay. There is a lot of theory, lots of volumes of theory, but the application somewhere is missing. Okay. This was something that my father had asked me to do when I was midway in my internship. Okay. He said, okay, I can afford to give you a space of about 1,200 square feet. Okay. And that is the maximum money that my father had. So how do you create a clinic? What is the dimension that you really require to have a massage table, to have a hydrotherapy equipment, to have a physiotherapy equipment, to have acupuncture, or say a shop that you want to have sell natural products? Please give me in a sketch that this is the exact dimensions with which I require things. Or how many of us are confident enough that I know to establish a naturopathy center of my own, I require XYZ instruments, XYZ electricity, where do I require a different electrical connection than the usual one? Okay. And these things are the things that I would like you to observe when you go to your clinical hospitals. Okay, a lot of times I see that, either the treatment centers are crammed up. There is no space for the patient to walk in. Okay, they are not patient friendly a lot of times in a lot of centers. I'm not talking only about XYZ hospitals, but there are no ramps. They are not disability friendly. Okay, and who are the people who come to you? People with osteoarthritis. Okay, people with severe back pain. Are you asking them to climb steps up and down for going to a treatment center? That is not how it is supposed to work. And therefore, it is not just important to look at the books and have knowledge about things or skills, but add a lot more to what we are able to do. The other thing that I would like all of you guys to kind of think about is, where is the world heading? Okay. How do I use technology for making my prescriptions better? Okay. How do I do instrumentation? Now, if you are a third year, I'm sure you have seen a hip bath tub, and you have already learned in your PNC that hip bath is good for back pain or sciatica. Yeah. But with somebody having severe back pain, can you sit in that tub? Now, how do I modify? Now, I know that this tub is good. Application of water in that particular region of the body is going to be good for the patient. Can I modify the tub in a manner where the patient is able to sit down without having pain? So can I apply my mind in doing these? And please opt out, including me, the older generation, out of it. Okay, because we are already into something. Okay, it is for you guys to discuss and debate and talk and draw and scrap things and learn. So unless there is no innovation without mistakes, please remember that. Okay, Edison had to do 1,000 mistakes to make a bulb. So you're not going to get things right on the first attempt. But it is extremely important that we start attempting. A lot of times in many colleges, including when I was a student in my own college, I had friends who I used to love studying from books, and they were like, hey, why are you reading things which are not in the syllabus? Are you nuts? We are so much into completing the syllabus and studying for exams. Yes, it is a part of your growth as a professional, but do not limit yourself to textbooks. You need to read much beyond what is there in the textbook. That is where you learn the application from. You need to watch a lot of things that happen around. TED Talks is a beautiful media that you can learn things from. Your patients can teach you 100 things that nobody else will be able to tell you, because it is you can learn a theory about X treatment being good or Y treatment being bad for somebody, the indications and contraindications, but the real life experience of the patient, you cannot match that with any textbook. And therefore, there are 100 new things that we can do. All we need to do is start. Okay, so I hope I have answered your first question, Azuma, now.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The second question is, I mean, you can tell me the language and I can tell you the movies that you can watch. There are beautiful movies that you can watch in English. Patch Adams is definitely right at the top. There is a beautiful movie called as The Beautiful Mind, if you have not seen it. It is on a life of a schizophrenic. In fact, it is made on a person who has got Nobel Prize for Mathematics called John Nash, who happens to be a schizophrenic. Okay, and so how he dealt with his health problem, continued to excel in his field. That is something that you must watch. In Hindi, I all-time favorite, a very classical movie is Anand from 1970s, where Rajesh Khanna plays somebody with a cancer, and Amitabh Bachchan is in a side actor's role, playing the doctor, helpless doctor, whose patient is dying. Beautiful movie, must watch again. There are so many dialogues from Anand that you take one dialogue and you can just leave away all the depression that you have had. There is another movie that came in called as Das Vidaniya. Beautiful movie. No big actors. Vinay Pathak is the lead actor. This is a Hindi movie with a Russian name, Das Vidaniya, which means goodbye. Okay, so he plays a common man who makes a to-do list every day before he starts the day, and then he gets diagnosed with a terminal cancer, and he makes a to-do list of the things that he wants to do before he dies. Okay, so 102 Not Out, a recent movie that came up with Rishi Kapoor and Amitabh Bachchan, another fabulous movie. These are not the movies that are actually making you a good doctor, probably, in terms of your clinical skills or knowledge base, but they will teach you the humanity that a doctor would require. Okay, there are a list of books that I would recommend for everybody to read, and they are not there in any syllabus. Okay, these are not the textbooks, but these are textbooks for you to read to become a good doctor. Okay, there is to start with, probably it would be the lifestyle program of Reversal of Heart Disease by Dr. Dean Ornish. There is Love, Medicine and Miracle by Dean Ornish. There is Anti-Cancer. There is a beautiful book, Anti-Cancer Living, written by Dr. Lorenzo Cohen, who happens to be a director in an integrative cancer center in the US, who happened to get melanoma himself, and what all things do you have to do to take care of that. So there are hundreds of such nice books. Tuesdays with Morrie, if you have not read, by Mitch Albom, which is a fiction, but it is about a professor who is dying because of a progressive condition where somebody starts getting paralyzed from bottom up. So your toes onwards, you start getting paralyzed, and the end of the condition is respiratory muscles would get paralyzed. You will die of suffocation. Extremely painful, right? Now imagine, this person is bedridden and requires help for the toilets and all that. In one of the one of the quotes that I would summarize this particular book for you is, when somebody asks him, how do you feel that you require help, nursing care for going to toilet? He says, when I was a baby, my mother used to take care of all my toilet things, when I had no control over it. Thanks to this problem today, in my old age, I am enjoying my second childhood. So the perspective itself is going to change about how you see things. And therefore, start reading beyond the conventional textbooks. I am definitely not denying the importance of reading the textbooks. Okay, I am a teacher myself, and there are a lot of students of mine who are there in the forum, including Bhavit and Bhakti and a lot of others. But then on the other side of it, you must read beyond the textbook, without which you're not going to be a better doctor than who you can be.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Very good evening, sir.
Good evening.
I'm Himanshi Mishra from first year BNYS. So my question is this, which type of medicine did doctor gives who are graduated BNYS degree?
Okay, as such, medicine, the term itself has to be understood properly. Medicine is something that is given to prevent a health problem, promote health, and to manage or cure a condition. Okay, it is not a tablet or an injection that is being given. Okay, and therefore, whatever you do in terms of your prescription, whether it is diet, whether it is exercise, whether it is hydrotherapy, mud therapy, massages, and the whole range of acupuncture, whole range of treatments that are there, the yoga therapy, all of that is your medicine. Okay, and therefore you don't have to think about, we are not giving medicines because we are not giving pills. Okay.
Yes.
On the other side of it, we also have a emerging area where probably all of us need to look into something called as nutraceuticals and herbal supplements. Okay, the Indian naturopathy and the Western naturopathy kind of differs in terms of how we approach. Okay, but the Western naturopathy, wherever naturopathic medicine is practiced, whether it is in US or UK or anywhere else, they have now evolved what is called as nutraceuticals and herbal supplements. Okay, so we will have to learn and catch up with that and learn that as a part of our nutrition dietetics subjects. But that does not reduce the importance of lifestyle as a prescription.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Anasuya, you have a question?
Hello, sir. Good evening.
Very good evening.
I'm Anusmaya from Naturopathy, Alvas College of Naturopathy and Yogic Sciences, Mangalore.
Okay.
Sir, my question is, when a patient approaches us with few symptoms, how to diagnose unknown diseases with fewer symptoms? Can naturopaths prescribe for any laboratory diagnosis?
Yes, you can prescribe for lab diagnosis without any doubt. Please remember that the lab diagnostics are not limited to allopathy or naturopathy or Ayurveda. They are common. Okay. And you need to understand what is wrong before treating it. So there is no problem in recommending labs, number one. Number two, you can also take care or take help of the natural diagnostic methods that you learn. Okay, whether it is iridology or whether it is facial diagnosis, anthropometry, a lot of, remember always that labs are secondary. Always your history is going to give you a lot of insights on what could be the problem. Okay, and therefore take proper clinical history before you go on to prescribe some labs or investigate anything further. Answering your second question, it is very simple. You can definitely prescribe labs. There is no problem.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Yeah, this is Shalin Lakhani from Gujarat. I am a fourth-year BNY student studying in Morarji Desai Institute of Naturopathy and Yogic Sciences, Vadodara. So my question for you is, many of us BNY students plan to open OPD clinic after graduation or doing masters or doing a job. So what are the benefits and which are the issues being faced by a naturopath doctor after opening his clinic?
Well, I'm probably not the right person to answer that. You should ask somebody who has opened a clinic. You should invite someone who has that, I have been largely in either administration or academics or clinicals working with different institutions. But then there can be a lot of, I'm just trying to answer your question from my perspective, but I'm not the best person to answer it anyway. One, if I'm working for any institution, my institution is definitely going to grow with my growth. Okay, if I start an OPD of my own, the growth will be mine. Okay, so that is definitely something as a plus point you will have to look at. The second thing is there will be a flexibility in what you can do. Okay, and I know a lot of my seniors, juniors, my students who have opened their OPDs, and they have different approaches. Okay, some people have taken up one health problem. Some people just take care of the spinal disorders, or only diabetes specialty lifestyle center or something like that. Or some people take only acupuncture or only diet or only yoga as their specialty. And there are people who can integrate everything as well. The issues on the other side would be that you require patience, because it takes a lot of efforts. It's easy when I need to do a job with an institute. I do what my employee asked me to do, and at the end of the month I have salary in my account. Okay, but in my clinic, if I don't get a patient, I have problem. Okay, it's all about vitamin M, and therefore there will be a requirement of a lot of efforts when it comes to an OPD. You require a lot of patience to do it, because it's not that you open an OPD and people would start coming to you just like that. Number three, it may require a lot of initial investment. Okay, simple, you require a place to start a center, and a lot of times we work on loans, we study on loans, and then you have them to repay. So it might be difficult for you to manage finances unless there is a financial backing. Other than that, I think I am not very sure of how I would answer your question. I think you guys can invite somebody who's working in a standalone OPD or clinic and ask the same question to them to answer. That would be a better way of getting you better insights on the question.
Sir. Hello.
Hello.
Am I audible?
Yeah.
Good evening, sir. I'm Sindhu H. Kaushik, 4th year BNY student, Morarji Desai Institute of Yoga and Naturopathic Science, Vadodara.
Tell me,
sir,
Sindhu.
I wanted to ask what is the role and scope of BNY's doctor in India as well as abroad?
A very, very broad question. I'm sure that you guys are already aware of that. You can have your own clinical settings, you can have your own centers, you can work with yoga naturopathy centers, you can work with allopathy centers as integrative medicine places. You can work with Ayurveda centers as well. A lot of them are taking BNY's doctors. In terms of research, you can work with research institutions. Wellness is a big sector where you have spas and wellness centers where BNY's doctors work. There are academic institutions where if you have a passion for teaching, you can get in there. You can become an entrepreneur, learn to do things on your own if you're passionate about it. So it would depend on what you are really passionate about and what do you want to achieve as a professional. Based on that, I think there are a lot of opportunities for BNY's doctors. Sky is the limit.
Thank you.
So good evening, sir. I guess I'm audible.
Yes, Janvi, please go ahead.
Yes, sir. I'm Janvi C from studying second year BNYs from Government Nature Cure and Yoga Medical College, Mysuru. So my question to you is, sir, there is this difficulty with the patients that it is difficult to make them believe in naturopathic system of medicine. On the contrary, they should take the prescribed pills blindfolded. So how a naturopathic physician can successfully endeavor to reach the society and serve better as a life transforming individual amidst the allopathic physicians?
This is a beautiful question. Thank you, Janvi, for that. Number one, practice what you preach. A lot of times in many BNYS colleges, we do yoga just because there is attendance and not because we really want to get the benefit of yoga. So once you start the practice for your sake and you start believing in what you're talking, automatically everything else becomes very simple. Okay, I'll just give you something that happened in my own life as an example, Janvi. I studied in SDM, and there used to be a long train journey back home every time during holidays. About 24-30 hours I had to travel. So during the travel, naturally, you know, in your train compartments, people would ask you questions: who you are, what are you doing here, etc. And in my first 1 or 2 years as BNY student, I was not very comfortable with what I do. So when people used to ask what I do, I used to say I'm a medical student. So it was simple, no? Medical student. I'm not telling a lie as well, but at the same time, I'm also not telling them naturopathy because they will ask me more questions about what naturopathy is all about. By the time I reached third year, fourth year, I became more comfortable with what I used to do. And then I used to start initiating the conversations in the train and started talking to people about, you know, I'm a yoga naturopathy student, and they would ask you what naturopathy is. And then I used to elaborate on all of that. I can tell you that I could get about 6 or 8 patients to our hospital because of those train journeys. So it's all about being comfortable with what you do, how much conviction you have in what you say, and naturally people would follow. Okay, so there is no problem with that.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, Janvi.
Good evening, sir.
Hello, Pragati.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, I'm Pragati Rai, third year student from Maharshi Aurobindo Bharati College and Hospital of Naturopathy and Yogic Sciences. So my question, I have got my answer, but again I want to ask my question. There are many rural areas where we cannot practice naturopathy and yoga because they don't believe in it. So our system is only for metropolitan cities.
No. A simple, straightforward answer is no. You will have to make naturopathy relevant even in the rural areas, and you will have to learn how to make it relevant. Okay, but that may take some effort on your part, some innovation on your part. You cannot just, apply whatever you learn in college, just go in a rural setting and start doing it. You will have to innovate with that. But if you are able to do so, there is no problem. You can definitely do it.
Okay.
Yes, Pranav.
My question is, why there is no PG diploma courses available for naturopathy doctors in medical university?
Well, that's more of a policy decision, but you will have to understand. I think I read your question also. You are trying to compare it with the allopathic counterparts of ours and trying to ask me why is it like that. Please remember, BNYS is only 30 years old.
Yes.
Okay, and we are right now in a very early stage of growth. Okay, so you are in SDM, so you know that PG also started after a big struggle.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so eventually things will start happening. We will have to be more patient. When I graduated in 2009, I did not foresee sitting and taking online classes for BNY students ever in my lifetime. But I'm doing that today. Okay, so as we grow, things would evolve. Okay, and therefore let it happen on its own time. Let us not worry about why things are not there. Start doing things that are in your hands to start with. Okay, if you are more comfortable and convinced about what you are talking to people and what you are doing is right, I think the rest is not much of a problem.
Yes, sir. And what are the PG courses available for us right now?
Yeah, you know the answer anyway. You are in
Other than
SDM. Yeah, you have MD in yoga, naturopathy, and acupuncture and nutrition. 4 streams right now. Different universities are offering that, whether it is RGHS or MGR, or now even in Bhopal we have started. Merit also is starting a MD. SVASA does offer MD in yoga. So we do have MD programs. We have a lot of MSc programs which are possible for all of us to do, right from basic medical sciences like anatomy, physiology to biochemistry to all of the whole range. You can also do MBA in hospital administration and stuff. There is MHA that is available. I see that one of my students who has spoken to you last week, she has done her MPH, Masters in Public Health is available. So basically the post-graduation should be based on what you want to do. Okay, what is it that you want to achieve out of the end of post-graduation? It should not be like BNYS, typically in BNYS, we did not choose the course in larger scenario. In about 85-90% of the cases, it's not the student that chooses the course, it is some relative who wanted you to do the course and all of that. So at least when you graduate, you're already a doctor, and therefore you need to decide what is the right post-graduation for you based on what you want to achieve in long term. Okay, once you decide what is your long-term goal, automatically it will fall in place. Okay, of course, PhD is also available, and there are good number of people. I see Srilay Mohanty sitting here in the audience, who is doing his PhD from AIIMS. Okay, so you can dream of where you want to study, and things would happen. But it would take some time. It will require a lot of patience and a lot of communication, because in many cases, these people don't even know that a graduation such as BNYS exists.
Yes, sir.
So you will require to communicate with them, email, the deans or directors of these institutions, that there is a program which has basic medical sciences and all of that, and things will start falling in place eventually.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
You're welcome.
Hello, sir. Good evening.
Good evening, Muskan.
This is Muskan Momin from SGCH NYC College of Naturopathy and Yogic Science, Ghataprabha, and I'm a BNY's third-year student. So my question will be how the healthcare approaches that are outside the domain of conventional medicine can be adopted into the mainstream of clinical practice.
Could you please elaborate on what do you mean by non-conventional approaches?
Like, so the healthcare approaches that are outside the domain of conventional medicine.
As in that everything, Ayurveda is outside conventional medicine,
Yeah,
naturopathy is
sir.
outside conventional medicine. So you will
How
have to
this can
specify.
be, how these can be adopted in the mainstream of clinical practice?
Already things are happening. I mean, if you are not aware, a lot of work has happened with Isvyasa. We have been working with a lot of institutions, mainstream medical institutions, in terms of adapting yoga in the mainstream centers. We have worked with the Bangalore Institute of Oncology. We worked with HCG cancer centers. We work with Narayan Hridayalaya for a cardiology thing. We work with a lot of international collaborations are also there for diabetes. So Manchester University, there is a project we are working with University of Nottingham. So essentially you will have to talk in a language that people understand. Okay, I think the 100 people who are here, everybody has their colloquial language. They have their own regional languages in which they are very comfortable, right? And if they start talking in their regional languages, you start talking in Marathi, Kannada, Tamil, people will not be able to understand each other. Okay, and therefore what you do is you talk in a common language. And if you want to work with mainstream medicine, you will have to talk in their language, which is the language of science. Why yoga is adapted by all these places that I'm talking about? Because we have been talking of yoga as a science in the language of psychophysiology, in pathophysiology, and how things would modify based on that. Okay, if you start talking of vitality without making them understand vitality is, it is like, somebody from South India is talking to somebody from Northern India in their own languages. It doesn't make any sense. Okay, and therefore we will have to adapt the language that is uniform across the medical sciences, and that would help us to kind of bring our non-conventional approaches in the conventional field. Say Ayurveda has the language of Vata, Pitta and Kapha, right?
Yes, sir.
And it is very difficult for us to understand what Vata, Pitta and Kapha actually means. Okay, they are very comfortable with the approach, but when you want to work together, you will have to talk in a common language. Okay, you start talking of prana and manas, and start talking of shlokas and all of that, which is essential for your clinical practice. But when you want to integrate, you will have to translate them and apply them in real life and tell them that this is how things work. And if you're able to do that successfully, there is nobody who is denying that integrative medicine is required. In fact, if you're trying to look for the big names in medicine, okay, and the big names are probably Harvard Medical School, John Hopkins, Stanford University, or Mayo Clinic, or Oxford Medical School, or the MD Anderson Cancer Center, which is the biggest cancer center in the world. You will find that there is already a department in each one of them called as the integrative medicine department. Okay, these are outsiders. What about India? AIMS, whether it is AIMS New Delhi, where Srila is pursuing his PhD, there is a Center for Integrative Medicine and Research. AIMS Rishikesh has a Ayush department. NIMHANS, National Institute of Mental Health and Neurosciences, has a department of integrative medicine. So it is not that they are not open to you. The problem is we don't talk in their language. Start talking in their language and people will start adapting you very simply. There is absolutely no problem with that.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Like 16 questions you have answered. now, and that was the last question, and we are out of the time. So like 25 minutes we are giving from our session. Sorry for that, and thank you so much, sir. Like I was like I'm a student, same like in the class, and I feel the same today also. If it's not virtual, it's the same. Sir.
I'm sorry,
Thank you
Bhavit,
so
your
much, sir,
voice is a
to call
little
up.
breaking. Hello,
Sir,
Bhavit?
now am I audible, sir?
Yeah,
Yes, sir. Am I audible, sir?
yeah.
Yeah, sir. Like, sorry for the delay in 26 minutes, but it was like a wonderful session for
Yeah,
all 100
I
participants.
had the whole evening only for you guys, so there is no problem with that. I think Dr.
Thank you so
Shankar
much, sir.
raised
Thank
his
you.
hand. Dr. Shankar?
Yes, sir. He is there in the.
Yeah, he had raised his hand. That is why I just wanted to check if there was something.
It was a great session, sir. I think so. The comments are coming on my group, in my WhatsApp chat for the next session, sir. When he will be available for the next upcoming session to answer our questions. So thank you so much, sir. We are looking forward you to have in this same platform, sir. So
Yeah,
it's a great evening for all
more
of
than
us.
happy to be with all of you. And remember something that I could get in my life as a student. Please feel free to approach people and ask questions, and you will get answers. Okay, but you should have questions. When I was an intern, I had sent a message to Dr. Babu Joseph, who was the then director of National Institute of Naturopathy, and he just said, "You come down." There was no second thought.
ಕೇಳಿಲ್ಲ
So
ಸರಿ ಹ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ರೈಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಟ್ಟೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಶೆಟ್ಟರ್.
yeah, so therefore, if you have questions, please feel free to ask and approach people. Emails is a simple media that all of us have now. WhatsApp is there, and you can always communicate. Worst case scenario, what would happen? People will not respond. That's it, right? But make sure that you ask questions. That is very, very important at your stage. I see a lot of my seniors also there. I believe they are part of the group which is sitting here. I'm very happy to talk to a very mixed group, and I would be happy to have a feedback as well.
Session feedback is coming very good. As of now, sir, by 40 participants have texted, sir, in the chat box.
Yeah, I'm just
Really
having a
waiting
look.
for the next session too. Okay, sir. So we are end of this session, sir, and hope we will meet soon on this platform with you and with all the participants.
Thank
You
you so
so
much
much, sir.
for calling me here and giving me a chance to talk to the young generation of BNYS. I'm not an old one, but yeah, little elder than you guys.
Yeah, sir.
Yeah, thank you so
No
much.
problem,
Have
sir.
a wonderful evening and nice day ahead.
Thank you so much, sir. So we'll end this meeting.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir. Bye, sir. End this meeting. Thank you, everyone.